Hi everyone, welcome back. Having fun with doing absolute value graphs. And I started mucking around with Desmos, because I couldn't find anything on YouTube. I couldn't find even Google Images enough on it. I don't know if I was searching wrong, but here we go. Okay, so if I turn that into an absolute value graph, I'm getting the absolute value of the whole function. So what happens in that graph? When I do that, the part below goes above. Most people get that and they have no problems with it. So pretty easy just to go, there's below, there's the parabola, and there's the absolute value graph, and it goes above. What if I make it more complicated? Go back to this one here, and I make it an x minus 4, so it's a cubic. I actually like cubics when they become absolute value. So there's my cubic, like that, but I need to muck around here with the keyboard and go for the absolute value. Oops, got in the wrong spot. Get back over here. Absolute value, and click on the other end to say yes, I want the absolute value, get rid of that. So now we can go back and forward to cubic. Everything that's below the x-axis goes above the x-axis. Really, really easy. Most people get that, no problems, and they get the marks, easy marks in the waist. So what happens though when it's an absolute value of all the x's? So I'm going to go back to my parabola again. Instead of being from the below the x-axis to above the x-axis, this is going to go sideways. Let's have a look at what happens. So I take the same parabola I originally had, go back to my keyboard. Yes, I want that to be an absolute value. I want that one to be absolute value. Now, some people don't understand the idea that it's absolute value of every x. If it's not absolute value of every x, it doesn't work. So here we go. Now we've got a parabola, and we're going to go absolute value of both of the x values. I've got to go, ready, there's your parabola, and I go, I want an absolute value on both lots of x. So that x needs an absolute value around it, and that x needs a value, absolute value around it. So it's actually 4 steps. So I've got to click 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there it is. So if I click back to the previous one, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's your parabola. So what's going to happen to this parabola when we go absolute value on the x's? Instead of reflecting from the bottom to the top, it's reflecting from the right to the left. But when we reflect from the bottom to the top is still there. It doesn't get removed, it doesn't get eliminated, sorry I'm laughing about. But when I reflect from right to the left gets eliminated. And let's see what happens. So in other words, this bit here can't stay there, it disappears. Once you see a picture in your head, that it just disappears. So here we go, 4 clicks. So if I click quick enough, you don't see all the other rubbish. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what happened? This part that was just here disappeared, and it got overridden by what was on the right. So it's like you take all of that and you bring it over on the left, and it's a reflection of it, and it wipes out everything else. So up and down is really easy when you're reflecting from the bottom to the top, but when you're reflecting right to left, it's rather crazy. I actually like doing this one with cubics. So there's our cubic. If I get rid of that, you can see your cubic. So what's going to happen if I get absolute value of all 3 x values? So all this on the right is going to come over here to the left, reflected to the left, and it's just going to remove that little bit there. I'm not looking at why it happens, like we can go through the algebra and put the negatives in and see that every negative turns to a positive, and it reflects in the y-axis. That's a reflective wipeout. And there we have it. You can see what it wiped out on the other one. So the cubic originally all come down here. So that's gone. This reflected over onto there. So let's have a look. If I click back, one more go, and this will probably be enough of it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Original cubic. Every x turns into an absolute value. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.